Good afternoon. My name is Giselle Aguila, and this is my mentor, Ms. Laura Napruzi, and we're going to review and do the post-observation for lesson number 2, elementary, for my student Jimmy in math. Okay.
Okay, so the lesson was great. I want you to, there were lots of strengths in this lesson as far as the materials you gave them, the slides you gave them lots of visuals. There was lots of multisensory learning happening in this lesson. So I want you to highlight your strengths here, like basically talking about the materials and all the stuff that you use. Like, what were the strong points?
Okay, I think with this particular group of kids, we are just very fortunate that we have one-to-one computers nowadays, and Google Classroom is like, it's a great resource. So I uploaded in the materials section of their Google Classroom, I uploaded a chart for PEMDAS so that it's always there, and they have the acronym and what it means and the symbols. Also, I uploaded the multiplication chart, the table, because
Yes.
most of them need that help right off the bat.
Right.
Those
great.
two things are there in the materials section. They can always just go back and click on it and have it there as they're working. You know, they have grid paper or graph paper available during the lesson as well. Some of them used it. Some of them chose not to. Some of them turned their notebook around so that the rows are, I guess, down.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Some kids prefer that because I think it's just a bigger space to write than
Yes.
graph paper. And also making the calculators available for those that have a tough time with multiplication.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because these simple little adaptations, these little changes that you make, they're so important, and it just shows flexible teaching. And in special education, being flexible is really the name of the game, because you know what the students need and you deliver instruction to meet their needs just by making these small little like changes in the way you're presenting the information. So I thought you did a really fantastic job.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so
That
much.
was really good. Can you think of anything maybe that didn't work in the lesson, or something that you would change for next time? Like, it worked, but you could maybe do it a little differently. I know sometimes it's hard to think of that on the spot.
Yeah, I guess when you're creating the lesson, you know, you have a lot of expectations, right? I feel like I used several examples, several math expressions, and I feel like maybe I should have done a few more of the simpler, like much simpler expressions for some of the children like Jimmy, whose processing takes so long.
Mm.
And although I did like 3 examples or even 4 examples, I could see that he was still a little bit, he was lagging behind, you know? So at that point, I just want him to accomplish as much as he can. So maybe in the future, I would probably do simpler examples. And then obviously this is a topic that we have to go over days and days and days, right?
Yes, it's hard.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I had a couple of simple ones and a couple a little more complex ones with the division. I would probably take away division and just stick to adding, subtracting, and maybe a couple of multiplication before going into division. The reality is that if they are not fluent with their facts, and especially with multiplication, division is just going to be harder.
Yeah, and they're not. But I have to say that you did a really good job of compensating for that when he was struggling, working with him, helping him in a way that didn't really point out to the rest of the group how much he was struggling. You know, there are these discrete ways that we do things as special education teachers, and you really nailed that. So I think that, like, you're being a little hard on yourself here, because you really did a great job with that. And I thought you provided great practice. They had a lot of examples to practice with. Oh, and what I loved were the dry erase boards. It's cool. As soon as they have the ability to write on a dry erase board, all of a sudden it's an art class and everybody's having fun. So that was a really fantastic thing to do. And it's so simple, right? It's such a simple way to make the lesson more fun with it. So
and I think that got them engaged real quick too.
Yes, it always does, because they're so excited to write on a board, and it's such a novelty item, these simple novelty items. Again, just like the other lesson, you used your time really wisely. You give the kids great feedback, positive feedback, and compliment them praise them when they're doing well. You asked them great guiding questions. You pointed out where their resources were in their Google Classrooms, their multiplication tables and the use of a calculator, just reminding them of those things. And again, there were no behavioral issues. They were very engaged. And I just thought you did a fantastic job on this. PEMDAS is really, really hard to teach. It's a very high level skill. So to be able to teach this to this population and have the bulk of them grasp it was pretty fantastic. So.
Yeah, that was great. I think the culmination was the last activity, which was the pixel art. Again, novelty, yes. Right? So it's like the pixel art, did the first equation with them, the expression, and then having them do the next 4 on their own. I think that was quite a surprise for them. So I'm glad.
Yeah, and it's something cool like technology, like, oh, cool, look what we can do.
Yeah.
Anytime you throw in a novelty like that, they love it. And technology, technology is their language, we're right. Learning. So correct. Pretty great. Yeah. Good job.
Okay, well, thank you so much for all your input. I really appreciate
You're welcome.
And all the help along the way. Thanks a lot.
You did great.
Thank you. Have a great afternoon.
You too.